Hey y'all, Teannabranae here. Welcome back to my channel. We're doing another autism video today. Ooh, I don't have my ring on. That's okay. We're doing another autism video today. For those of you who do not know, I am a stay-at-home mom to a 4-year-old son who has autism. We found out that he had autism some months ago now. We have been in the process of him getting tested prior to his diagnosis. We have been in the process of getting him evaluated and stuff for about a year. So I really wanted to do a kind of I'm opening my notebook to the page. I really wanted to do a how my life changed since his diagnosis type of video. Once again, as I've told you guys in the prior videos that I've recorded where I've talked about him having autism, we're going to keep it on like my thoughts and my process, or how I feel about it, things of that nature. We're not necessarily going to speak on like Julian's process because I don't prefer to do that. So I have a list. I'm going to go down the list and let's go ahead and get started. So I think the big thing on like how my life has changed post-diagnosis is we have significantly, me and my husband, but we have altered, or mostly me, it's altered the dreams that I had for my son. Not that I don't think those same things are possible, but when anybody has a child, you have those thoughts. At least I think you do. I did. Of, ooh, I wonder if he's gonna play sports. My husband's really into piano. For a while, I played piano. So I wonder if he's gonna be into music. I wonder if he is going to love to write. Like that kind of like general stuff that you would wonder about your child. And then since his diagnosis, even if it's not necessarily like this stuff is impossible, we know we are going to have to just work harder in supporting him to those points. So it's just been trying to reframe my thoughts about what his future can potentially look like. I think my son is super bright, so he can still have whatever future he wants to have. But will it necessarily be as easy as it could have been if he was neurotypical? No, probably not. It probably won't be as easy, but all that stuff is still plausible. It's just you start to think like, wow, what if my son chooses to, or is still at home at 20, 25 or 30 or 35, whatever, which there's nothing wrong with that. But you have those thoughts of my son's going to be 18, he's going to go off to college or whatever. And we've had to kind of like reframe our thought process in terms of he's going to do what he wants to do. He's going to do what he sets forth to do. And just like reworking our thought process in terms of like where we see his future going has been the main thing that we've had to work on, which that's fine. It's just something we got to work on, and it's something we're working through and still encouraging him, but at the same time not letting especially other people put unrealistic pressures on him based upon who they thought he would be at 4, that kind of stuff. Another thing on my list, so the second thing I put was that it feels like we have less support, which is true. The comparison of the amount of support we had when Julian was like 1 or 2 years old compared to now has dropped significantly. If you've been watching my channel long enough, you all know I worked full-time my entire pregnancy until I couldn't. I left work a month before Julian was born because at the time, the job that I had, I wasn't allowed to sit. And so it got to the point where like my legs hurt every day. and I just couldn't do it anymore. My doctor was like, no, you're not doing this. When do you want to go on maternity leave? Whatever date you tell me is the date I'm writing down, because you can't stand your whole shift. So I think my last day of work was like February 14th. Julian was born March 21st. I went into labor March 20th. So prior to that, I worked my whole pregnancy. After he came, I was off about 4 months, 3.5 months maybe, and then I worked full time again. Then once the pandemic hit, I was still working full time for some of the pandemic, but it's like the support started to wane, and we noticed it. And so at the time, it was just like, okay, at the time I started doing like more home-based jobs where I would have to be on the phone. My husband has always wrote. He's always been a writer, so he can do his job from anywhere without having to be on the phone all day. The jobs I was doing from home were mostly phone jobs. And so it got to the point where we couldn't get Julian to be quiet. There were meltdowns, there was some screaming, he was always in the background of my calls, and it just started to feel like unbearable. It started to feel like like it was me getting through a shift without having to stop and correct him or find a way to occupy his time and just things of that nature. It started to feel impossible. And during the pandemic, we were seeing less people. He wasn't like going to family members to stay all day anymore, because people felt like y'all at home, y'all could watch him. And it got to be difficult. And I know y'all probably like, well, your husband was working from home, he could have did it. Yes, but there are deadlines for when he has to get stories done. So yeah, he could, if he's not working while I'm working, he can like correct Julian, but it was impossible for us both to do it if we were working. Like, I couldn't tell a person on the phone, hold on, and go tend to my son, and he can't take an hour break, because sometimes that's how long it takes to calm Julian. He couldn't take an hour break from what he was writing to go soothe Julian, and he was making more than me anyway. So it was just like, you know what, at the time, it just made sense for me to stay home. Like, you know what I'm saying? It just made sense for our family that way. But as that progressed, we noticed like the support waned a lot. It turned into almost kind of like people were justifying, like, or do like, I'm not trying to out people, but, or make people feel bad. But it just kind of felt like everybody had this perception of, well, Tianna's at home, she could do it. Tianna's at home, she could do it. Tianna's at home, she could do it. As opposed to them playing whatever part they used to play in Julian's life. But we've kind of got into a groove. We don't get no sleep. My husband had a stroke. When he came home after his stroke, I had a migraine for 2 weeks. I had to go to the emergency for it. But, you know, we're working through it as best as we can and trying to get Julian as comfortable as he can be in his new normal. He's in school, so it helps. But he's only in school a few hours a day. He's not in school long enough for both of us to be working while he's at school, so I still am at home with him. Soon he's going to start ABA. That's a whole nother thing. So it's just, long story short, we have less outside support, and it's more become a two-man team, which, whatever, it just can be difficult sometimes to manage. 'Tis all. Next on my list, feeding into that, is I get less time to myself, and that goes back to the, well, Tianna's at home, she can do it, because I think a lot of people don't realize, like, a lot of people think because I'm at home, that I'm at home doing nothing. There's this idea that because I'm home with Julian all day, I have all of this free time. I've told you guys this before. When y'all see me recording these videos, why they look like this and I don't look like put together like most people who get on YouTube to record a video. They'll do their makeup or they'll curl their hair or whatever. I told y'all I do these videos while Julian is asleep. That little hour and a half nap he takes in the middle of the day is when I find time to do a sit down video. Other than that, there's always something I'm doing. Like, I don't really have as much downtime as people think I have. I was on the phone this morning trying to get stuff situated for him because I'm the go-to person for his teacher. I'm the go-to person for his occupational therapist, his speech therapist, the ABA place we were working with to try to get him into, the insurance, the primary care physician. Julian has a pediatric neurologist that he sees, the dentist. Like, I'm the place where he got his autism evaluation done. I'm the secretary. So if we need something taken care of, I'm the one who has to sit on the phone all day. I'm the one who has to make those calls. If we thought something was covered by insurance and then we find out we have a bill for it, I'm the one who has to call the billing department of whatever doctor's office to figure out how they billed it and then ask the insurance company why it wasn't covered or whatever. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that. On top of, like, me being the one who cooks, me being the one who cleans, like, and this has nothing to do with my husband, but a lot of people think that I have way more free time than I have, is my point. And it's annoying because they'll make comments about it, like, well, Teanna could do it, or Teanna isn't doing anything, or Teanna has time. Teanna does not have time. I had to sit on the phone with Julian's teacher the other day because Julian had a bad day at school. He was fussy. Or because he went a week without wanting to use the potty at school. I have to deal with that kind of stuff. And while some people may deem that as nothing, it's not nothing when your child has autism, and it's not as simple as talking to them one time and then that behavior being fixed. Because I'm the primary person for Julian in terms of, like, his day-to-day care, I'm the one who has to set the routines. I don't have time for whatever y'all think I got time for. Okay? Okay. Number 5 goes back to what I said in number 2 about the 7 less support. There was a change in the household income. Obviously, it got cut in half, essentially. Not half, but we went from 2 incomes to 1. So that could be difficult because everybody's struggling these days. Child, they think we finna start paying student loans next month. They better get on my face. I ain't got it, Joe Biden. I ain't got it. But that was a big change. I did, during this process of us getting his diagnosis and stuff, look for jobs. All of them that I was finding for me needing to be at home, they're all too demanding. There's no way around it. They're all too demanding. So we're gonna have to try again when Julian go to kindergarten and is in school for a full day. Cause right now it is not happening, and I don't even know if he can go to school for a full day because we have to see how ABA goes. Child, please. The income went from 2 to 1. Let's leave it at that. And then the last thing on my list, I don't want this video to be too long. I'm trying to keep it under 20 minutes. It should have been under 10 minutes, but y'all know I be rambling. I think that we get more judgment from people who have no idea what it feels like. A lot of people who have neurotypical kids or children that they think are neurotypical, because there's a lot of people walking around undiagnosed, okay? People who think that their children are neurotypical. We have struggled significantly with getting Julian like fully potty trained. Not getting him to go to the bathroom. Getting him fully potty trained. Because there's a difference. And a lot of people, well, I ain't had that problem. I had my kids potty trained by 2. Y'all are potty trained by 3. Y'all could tie y'all shoes by 3. Y'all can get y'all clothes on and off by yourself by 3. Y'all was writing y'all name at 3. Y'all was Y'all hear my stomach growl? Y'all, like, there's this whole, that's just lazy parenting. Your child only eats snacks because that's all you give him. And thankfully, Andre and I have both found like autism safe spaces where we don't feel crazy and we don't feel like it's just us. Even if the groups aren't always helpful. Like I was in one group the other day. I'm not gonna give a real situation, but I was in the Facebook group that I'm in for people with children who have autism. They'll be in there talking about their kid is 10 and not potty trained. They're like, or their kid is 10 and still can't tie their shoes, or their kid is 10 and can't grip a pencil, or like stuff like that. Because Julian does struggle with his fine and gross motor skills, but we're working on it in occupational therapy. But he struggles with it. So, like, I kid you not, Julian, if you are holding his hand over his, like, if you say, Julian, write your name, and he tries to do it himself, he can't grip the pencil enough to do it. But if he says, can you help me, and you put your hand on top of his, he can write his name without you applying pressure on his hand in terms of, like, you telling him how to make the letters. Like, he gets it, but he can't do it, if you get what I'm saying. But a lot of people have this idea of, you guys are just lazy parents. You're not trying hard enough. Well, I had a son and I didn't struggle with that, so there's no reason you should be struggling with that. Or Julian shreds paper. I think I've told y'all that before when I was cleaning his room one day in one of these clean with me videos I've done. He shreds paper. That's not autism. That's just him being a boy. Like, there's always some reason for someone to feel like they have to explain away one of his traits. Like, no, my baby has autism traits because he has autism, and that's fine. We're working through them. We're processing. We're doing what we need to do. Like, let that be that, without you feeling like you have to tell me what your kid did. Or if you my parent, which what I did when I was 3. I don't care. And sometimes, I know sometimes people are trying to be helpful, but it's not helpful. It's very dismissive. I don't think people realize they're being dismissive, but it's extremely dismissive, and I wish people would stop doing that. Okay? All right, y'all. So that was my little short list of, like, what was it? 6 things of just how my life has changed, or the changes I've seen since my son was diagnosed with autism. From my perspective, like I said, I can't tell y'all what changes Julian feels. I'm not Julian. But regardless, I don't know how much, like I tell you guys all the time, how much I'm going to talk about his diagnosis on my channel in terms of, like, me as a mom. But I do think it's helpful for Black parents to see other Black parents working through diagnosing, getting their kids diagnosed, and what comes next. Because it is a scary journey, especially when you are trying to research it and you see a lot of people who don't look like you. And I want to provide a space where parents can relate. Like, yeah, we get it. Your kid stems, my kid stems. Your kid is a picky eater, my kid is a picky eater. Your kid struggles with potty training, my kid struggles with potty training. Your kids don't read social cues well, my kid don't read social cues well. You struggling with boundaries, my kid struggles with boundaries. We know all that. That's not the point. The point is it okay for me to feel a way about that? Or does everybody else feel great about it? How are they processing? Like, and I think that those conversations are important, especially for Black people, because they're not had amongst Black people. A lot of times people are in denial that something is going on. Y'all need to stop doing it. them kids. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you all got something from it. I'm in a really good mood today. I hope you guys are in a great mood as well. I wore a bright shirt for y'all. Bye. Talk to y'all later.